Hi friends, I'm Yizzy Pop. I'm a cosplayer, an artist, and a creator, and I guess I'm sort of a YouTuber. Woohoo! Post videos on YouTube and I call myself a YouTuber. But also, if my eyelid looks kind of funny, it's because I have it's like swollen right now, so I had to like use eyelid tape to fix it. Don't pay attention to when I blink and it looks funny. I have recently hit 1,000 subscribers. Woohoo! Which obviously I know isn't a whole lot, but it is a little big for me because I just kind of started out doing this as like a little fun little goofy little thing to do to sort of yap and document stuff, and now I have a lot of people watching my stuff, and that's pretty special to me. So I basically said once I hit 1K I would be doing a cosplay Q&A. So this is what that is. So today I will be reading a few questions that I got on my Instagram stories and a few questions that I got on some of those Q&A, add yours here sort of thing, like those lists. I'm going to answer some of those as well that I saved specifically for this video, and just whatever questions I got separately when I asked people to ask questions for the Q&A. So let's get started, I guess. Okay, I'm going to be starting out with the questions I just got on like the questions thing on Instagram stories. So the first question I got was, why did you get into cosplaying in the first place? Was it always something you wanted to do, or did you try it once and get hooked? I've been cosplaying for 4 years now, question mark? I can't do math. And 4 years consistently. When I was in high school, I cosplayed for about a year. I don't really count that because I don't know. I just don't, because I just tried it for a little bit and then I quit. And then I continued again after COVID. But I did have that cosplay interest background. I, growing up, really loved Halloween, and I think it was more towards my creepypasta phase where I specifically started getting more into special effects makeup and putting more effort into my Halloween costumes in general. And I think that sort of led me in the direction of wanting to do cosplaying or just costumes outside of just Halloween. And yeah, I think I had discovered people cosplaying once I finally hopped onto Instagram, because for the longest time in middle school and high school I never had social media, and I only had social media after I had moved from California originally to stay in touch with my friends over there. And so once I finally hopped onto social media, I was like, that's when I discovered that cosplaying was a thing and that it existed. And so I originally first started out with only cosplaying Disney and Miraculous Ladybug, I think it was. Yeah, I tried that out then, and then I don't remember why I stopped. I think I don't know, I went through this whole thing of like thinking that I was being cringy, so then I stopped. And then when COVID happened, TikTok became a thing, and then I saw a lot of people doing like inspired makeup looks and special effects makeup looks on TikTok, and sort of like closet cosplays and dubbing sounds. Specifically, whenever Avatar The Last Airbender became popular again on TikTok, I remember I specifically made TikToks closet cosplaying the different characters and dubbing, or not dubbing, lip syncing to the lines from the show. And I just thought that that was so much fun. And then I think that was sort of like my gateway into starting to cosplay again. And then at that time, I started getting into anime for the first time, and then it just kind of rolled all into one. So yeah, I know that was a long answer, but I would say that I've always had some sort of interest in cosplaying. Like since I was little, I just didn't know that it was necessarily a thing, but I loved Halloween and dressing up and things like that. And then when I discovered that cosplaying existed, that's when I kind of more dove into that world, if that makes sense. What are your favorite materials for crafting? Specifically for cosplaying, I don't know if there's any particular material. I don't know. I like painting a lot. I think painting, even though I'm not like an expert like canvas or landscape, I don't know what you would call it, like even though I don't really paint on canvases a whole lot and do like portraits or whatever you would say, I really like painting because I like how, specifically on props, I like how you can just kind of paint something, and then when you paint it, you add so much more depth and dimension. Like, for example, for my trapper mask, it was obviously just a large clunk of white plastic. And what I tried to do with painting is I used certain dry brush techniques to make it look like it had the texture of wood almost. Dirtier, grungier prop things. I really like weathering with paint. I think it's a lot of fun, especially for like cosplays like my holiday pyramid head. I guess Huntress as well. I really enjoyed painting her mask. My medkit prop, I enjoyed weathering that as well, and things of that nature. I really enjoy using paint as a medium to sort of give the illusion that something looks different than its original form, if that makes sense. Ooh, that sounds kind of deep. Just kidding. I am not an expert at like EVA foam yet. Like, I really am enjoying EVA foam as far as cosplaying goes, but I do not have a whole lot of experience with that yet. So I will say painting is probably like my favorite. Paint is my favorite material to use for making cosplays. Okay, next question. How to pose when you are shy? I am very ambiverted, I would like to say, because I am very introverted around people that I'm not comfortable with and extroverted around people that I am comfortable with. Specifically, going out in public for cosplay photo shoots is very nerve-wracking to me because I hate being perceived and I hate being watched, and I hate the idea that somebody might come up and like harass me for doing something cringy or whatever. So, suggestions I have for posing when you are shy, or just posing in general if you don't have a whole lot of experience maybe with photo shoots or getting your picture taken in cosplay in general. One of the biggest suggestions I have is to create a Pinterest board with reference pictures that you can go off of depending on the character that you are cosplaying. You could go off of poses that you see of them from the show or movie or whatever media they come from, as well as you can even just search up poses in general, like different poses, like modeling poses, I guess. Like, for example, if you're doing a duo photo shoot with another character from the show, you can look up duo poses. Or if you know that that character happens to be shy, you can look up shy poses. And it doesn't even have to be modeling. There are a lot of drawing reference poses that are on Pinterest that I would recommend using as well. If you're shy, I would personally practice those poses at home and maybe doing like self-timer photos as well, to not only get kind of in the routine of familiarizing yourself with the poses that you're going to be doing, but as well as sort of build that self-confidence to knowing what angles you might like of yourself best compared to others. That's all I got for that question. Okay, next question I'm going to read is, what is my next con? So, I don't know, because I'm kind of in the middle of figuring out my job right now. I mean, I'm training for a job right now, and I'm sort of trying to estimate what my financial situation is at the moment. So, going to every con that I see, especially out of local city where I live, cons is a little bit out of the question for me at the moment, and I am a little bit busy scheduling wise because I also applied for a second job because I don't know, because I wanted to. To answer that question, the con that I know that I am going to for sure is Anime Frontier. That is my favorite convention of all time, and I don't know. That's just always the one that I have the best time at. Any out of local city around me cons? I don't know. Hopefully, once I have a more stable idea of what my job is looking like, then I can have a more consistent schedule with my cons, you know? This next question, what made you start YouTube? So, that is a good question because I ask myself that all the time. When I was in middle school, I used to be very obsessed with the YouTuber era of like Tyler Oakley, Zoella, PewDiePie. I'm gonna put a picture here editing in like the entire group because I can't remember everybody's name. But I used to be absolutely obsessed with like YouTubers and the content that they created on YouTube. And I always thought that I don't know, it's kind of weird because when I was younger, I used to be very convinced that I was going to be on Disney Channel somehow. I used to take acting classes, I did some auditions, and I I even looked up houses in like freaking Burbank, and I would show the Zillow link to my parents and be like, so when are we gonna move? Yeah, I just had like this mindset. I've been a very creative person since I was little, and I've always wanted to create video content, if that makes sense. That part of me kind of died when I got to middle school. I don't know what happened to me middle school, high school, but I became super self-aware and I was like, this is really cringy. And then I started cosplaying 4 years ago, but what made me start a YouTube channel specifically, and specifically one for cosplaying, was because I was like, you know what? I might like die tomorrow. The world might blow up. Who cares? Like, let me live my dream. I really like long form content, and I knew that that was something that I had always wanted to make. And since I had started sort of cosplaying and posting a lot more on social media, I thought it would be kind of fun to create videos and specific things that I wish existed out on YouTube when I first started cosplaying. For example, I made a video called How to Make Cosplay Friends as an Introvert, and that is the kind of video that I wish existed when I first started cosplaying, especially as someone that is in their, well, was in their early 20s. Can't say that anymore because I am now in my mid-20s. Hopefully that answers the question, but yeah. Okay, now I'm going to answer the questions from the little list. What is my favorite cosplay? That one is kind of hard because I've been going back and forth a lot recently. I would say silk was usually my default, or usually is my default. That's why I'm wearing her right now. But I haven't worn silk in a really, really long time, but that doesn't mean I don't love her any less. I put it on like a second ago for the first time in forever, and I was like, I feel awesome. I am a big fan of my silk cosplay, my Kyoko cosplay. As of recently, I have been really enjoying my Zoe cosplay from K-pop Demon Hunters. I'm also a big fan of my newer Feng Min cosplay. I know that's like one favorite cosplay, and that was four, but I can't pick just one. The next question is, what is my dream cosplay? So, I have a few, but one of my dream cosplays is to have a cosplay of my very own Spider Sona character. For those of you who don't know, a Spider Sona it's kind of like your Spider-Verse OC almost. Obviously, I cosplay as Silk a lot because I personally just like her as a character, as well as her having representation for Asian women in the Spider-Verse. If y'all don't know, I'm Filipino, so I would love to have a Filipina spider person in the universe. It would mean a lot to me to just have my own Spider Sona character and a little bit of representation for my heritage and my culture and stuff in the Spider-Verse community. The next question are, what are 3 of my cosplans? So, things that I have coming up at the moment, I am planning on attempting Rumi from K-pop Demon Hunters. I have her wig. I was so graciously gifted a purple wig, or a purple lace front wig specifically, to attempt Rumi, as well as the actual cosplay from one of my cousins, Wamabote. I would say Mira also, just for the sake of completion of the trio. Ooh, another one, I'm gonna add 2 extra just because, or 1 extra. I really want to attempt the artist from Dead by Daylight as well as the Plague. So those 2 are on my next to-dos for Dead by Daylight cosplays. Next question. What is your most expensive cosplay? It's kind of hard to say because I don't like spending money, but I also love cosplaying. I'm very frugal. I can't really think. I guess I would say like any of the printed spandex suits. Like this silk websuit was probably like $80, and I don't want to say that I've spent more than $100 on a cosplay that I can think of, unless it was just pieces put together. And even then, I don't think I've spent more than $100 on a cosplay. What is your favorite convention? I know I mentioned this earlier, but Anime Frontier is personally my favorite con. A cosplay pet peeve. What is one of my cosplay pet peeves? I have a few. It sort of depends on what aspect you're asking me in regard to cosplay. Like if you're asking me about the community or about making cosplays. In the community, I obviously really hate when people compare cosplayers to one another that are cosplaying the same character or treat it like a competition of some sort, especially on social media when they say, oh, well, this cosplayer won this trend, or this cosplayer is the canon, character on somebody else's cosplay TikTok. Like, okay, why are you like what? I think it's dumb, and I think it's rude and unnecessary, and I really hate when that happens. So that is one of my biggest pet peeves. In regards to making cosplays, I really don't like sewing. That's not really a pet peeve, but I hate sewing, and I will try to avoid it as much as possible. I really need to learn, but even when I do try to learn, I just sit there and like dread life, especially because my sewing machine always bundles up the threads into like a bird's nest, and I know there's ways around it, and there are lots of tutorials online, but I just get really intimidated, and it's not my favorite thing. So I don't like sewing. Where do you buy your wigs / how do you style them? Again, I am not the most well-informed / educated on wig styling or where to get wigs. So most of the time I get them from Amazon. And as far as styling them, I have not yet attempted a helmet wig. One day I will, and I'm very intrigued on learning how to because it looks very fascinating, but I cannot get myself to add the materials to my shopping cart and purchase them, and then especially with the status of my job right now. So I have yet to do that, but one day I will learn. But as far as the way I style my wigs at the moment, I use a crimper and a steamer depending on the character and how voluminous, I guess, or detailed I want the wig to be. If it's a character for like Starfire, for example, like in my Starfire cosplays, the wigs, I kind of just got them the way that they are, and I sort of just use my flat iron to curl the bangs and perk them up a bit and spray them down with a lot of got to be hairspray. But for things, for example, with like my Luna Snow and my Zoe wig that I styled recently, I always try to crimp the entirety of the wig, especially if I want it to give that more cartoon character-ish vibes. So I'll crimp it, and I mean, if you guys want to see me attempt to style my Rumi wig, I can make a video on that, talking more about things that I do know about wig styling. Let me know in the comments down below if that's something you'd be interested in. But I usually crimp the entire wig, and then I obviously straighten it with a crimper. And then I use a steamer if I want to get more defined curls, because some magical thing that I learned is using a steamer can actually help hold the shape of synthetic hair. But yeah, it really just depends on the character that I'm cosplaying on how I style the wig. If you have any particular questions about specific characters that I cosplay and how I style their wigs, just let me know in the comments or shoot me a DM on Instagram. I would be happy to share what I did for that with you. But yes, that is all the questions that I have today. Thank you so much to everybody that submitted a question. I really appreciate everybody for, helping me get to 1K subs. And if you're not already subscribed to me and my channel, I try to make videos related to cosplay, the cosplay community, art, anime, gaming, horror, etc., and things that I'm interested in. Feel free to check out my channel if those are some things that you're interested in, or if you liked this video, maybe subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Here are my other social medias, and I am mostly active on Instagram, where you will see the most updates about what and when I will be posting here on this channel. Thanks guys for 1,000 subs. I really appreciate it, and I hope you stick around to see more of the things that I create. And I really just hope these videos are helpful or insightful or educational to some people who might be needing it, or even just entertaining, because I think I'm hilarious. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.